Race fans, it's time to buckle in and listen to the fastest hour in racing radio. Your driver is a multi-time NASCAR winner and Hall of Famer Mark Martin. We cover racing, grassroots, history, we bench race, we talk life, and most importantly, we smash the loud pedal. It's time to turn some laps on the Mark Martin Podcast.
Episode number 45 of the Mark Martin Podcast, and today we got a big one. We're going to talk about the year 2009, a revitalization of Mark Martin's career. But before we do that, make sure to head on over to the website, markmartinpod.com, markmartinpod.com. Listen to the old episodes. Make sure to hit that connect button and get with us on social media at Mark Martin Pod on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Make sure to go and find it on your favorite podcast player and hit subscribe, whether it is Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. Make sure to hit that YouTube channel, hit subscribe, and get all of the latest podcasts available on your favorite podcast player. But Mark, 2009, a transformative year, and in podcasts past, you've talked about having years that are big achievements for you. And this is one that you pointed out, 2009.
This is probably, to me, is the granddaddy of all of them. I mean, this is the year that I'm most proud of. You know, we dreamed about getting one more win, which was the lure to finally hooked me into the Hendrick Motorsports thing and to run full time, which I didn't really want to do. And but you know, I had been paying attention to Alan Gustafson, and I had especially after I decided that I would take the job, I listened to him on the scanner. I listened to him when he ran bush races with Kyle previously the year before. So Alan was on my radar screen, and I liked Alan's style. He was really a smart guy, and Alan really was excited to have me drive his car. And as we covered in the previous podcast that covered 2008, you know, I told you about the car that he built for the test and how it wasn't exactly completely fair to Casey Mears, because I feel like the cars that they built for me were a new generation of Hendrick Motorsports cars, and I think Alan's cars that he built me inspired the other guys at Hendrick Motorsports to step up their game as well. And that test at Charlotte really got everybody's attention. And that was back in October. So anyway, we go to Daytona for the Daytona 500 and set on the outside pole. So that was pretty incredible. I wasn't really used to going to Daytona and having a fast qualifying car. I was used to having the middle of the pack speed kind of car that we worked hard on making it handle. And so this was kind of new to me and really exciting. But I could just remember the energy that I felt from the race team. And you've heard me talk about that before, but there was just so much energy in this team. They were so excited to have me driving their car. And every time I would go to the shop, I'd come home and Arlene would say, man, you know, you're just smiling. You know, every time you go to the shop, you come back, you got this huge smile on your face. And I'm like, Arlene, it's like going to NASA, man. It's just like nothing I'd ever been a part of. The quality of people and the professionalism and the team of guys, the road, especially the road crew that I got to spend time with, were just so much fun. They were really serious, but they were fun at the same time. And you know, they we just had a good time. And our truck driver Dean, his nickname was Squirrel. He was so much fun. Golly, I love him to death. I still love him to death. We stay in contact. What a super cool guy he was, and he was the biggest Mark Martin fan you could ever ask for. And you know, just everybody that worked on the car. Josh did all the interior stuff, and that car was always like a glove, man. I mean, we worked and worked to get that seat, to just right for me. See, I wasn't really comfortable with making a change. I'd been in Butler seats ever since the Earnhardt crash and the safety stuff came along. I'd been doing Butler seats, and I was really comfortable in my seats and didn't want to change, but Rick, you know, did the carbon fiber seats for everyone, his guys and everyone else that wanted to run them. And I just felt like it would be a slap in the face of those guys if I put a Butler seat in a Hendrick race car. So as bad as I hated to do it, we tackled it. They had to build a special seat. I mean, they use I don't know what you call it, but they use a outer part, carbon fiber part, and then they put a garbage bag in it, and they pour it full of this stuff that hardens while you sit in it, so it feels all around your body, and that's called an insert. And they couldn't do one. They couldn't make me fit in an existing outer part. They had to build a smaller one, which they wound up using for Kelly Byers and Danica Patrick and a few other little people that came along, but they didn't have anything small enough for me, so they had to go through the whole act of building a mold to build a carbon thing for. But long story short, we worked and we got that thing comfortable, and Josh always did a great job. Just always felt like slipping into your recliner at home every time I climbed in that thing. But we go to Daytona and we're fast. I don't really remember what the circumstances were in the race. We were not a contender to win. We finished 16th. But, you know, it could be worse for sure. And then we go to the second race. It was Fontana at the time, and we go to Fontana. And I don't remember what we broke in the engine, but those Hendrick engines were strong, and they didn't break very much. So we thought, that's unusual. We got 40th place. And so I was, you know, stuff happens, you know. So then we go to Vegas. We qualified 8th, and we're running real well at Vegas. And since I'd been driving for Jack for a long time, and we'd always struggled for fuel mileage, we always rode around on caution in 4th gear and just let the engine just chug, just you know, just to save fuel rather than run around in 2nd gear with higher RPM, burn a little bit more fuel. So I'd already been in a fuel saving mode for years, trying to just equal the guys around me. And the Hendrick guys hadn't been doing that, hadn't been lugging the engine around like that on caution. And so we blew up there too, and it was bearings. It was lack of oiling, and they figured out that they were going to have to increase the oiling. So we finished 40th there too. So we come out of the gate with a 16th, and 2/40. So things aren't looking too good in the points, but we're fast. And we go, then the next race is Atlanta. And I remember right now, as I'm telling you, the qualifying, I remember standing. Well, I remember the lap, first of all, which was spectacular. And it was a pole. And coming off of 4, I mean, it took my breath away. And it was nighttime too. It was nighttime qualifying. And after you qualified, you pulled in behind the pit wall and parked and waited for all the qualifying to be over with. And I remember standing back there and just the camaraderie of the team and how they felt like such badasses and how fun it was. It was incredibly fun. It was so good to be around a team that was that excited. And we had trouble in the race. So we had a flat left rear tire or something. Something happened. I think we got in a wreck or something down in turn 1 and 2. Whatever it was disappointing, and we're 31st. So, man, we just suck points wise. I mean, we're running good, but we're buried in deep trouble. And the next race is Bristol, and we go sit on the pole at Bristol too. And finally start reeling off some finishes. We finished 6th at Bristol, and we went to Martinsville and finished 7th at Martinsville, which was a good run for me, a track that I hated. And then we went to Texas, and we ran 6th there. And then we went to Phoenix and hauled butt. I mean, we were fast as hell in practice. Sat on the pole, and I remember how exciting it was to sit on the pole and walk out of the garage area that night and see that car number 5 at the top of the lighted scoreboard. And we were really strong in the race as well. And it was one of those things where I was used to if it could go wrong, it will go wrong. I was just not used to things going my way. And sure enough, we got this thing in the bag, and they have a caution right at the end of the race, and toward the end of the race, and we pit for tires, and Tony Sturt's running really good too. He and I get 4 tires. We come out back on the racetrack, and what do you know? Ryan Newman has stayed out on used tires. And as everyone knows, Ryan is notorious for being tough to pass, and it's right at the end of the race. So Newman's trying to steal a win, and it was before double file restarts. So I lined up behind him with Tony behind me, and I knew that this was my opportunity to lose the race for sure. And we get the green flag and pile off down into turn 1, and I start to go. I'm afraid to go low because I'm afraid Newman will go low and stop. So I think I look low, and then I go around the outside of Newman. And I hate running high. I hate running the outside, but I just had to do it. And when I did, Newman got loose and wiggled, and thank God I got by him quick enough that he didn't wash up and get into me. And so I bust off a turn 2 with the lead, and Tony still in second. So I'm in good shape now. Just have to run the thing out and win the race. And I don't know that I can describe to you what that win meant, but if you've listened to every one of these podcasts, you understand that I've been worried since 96, but terribly worried since 2001, that I wouldn't win another race. And although we did, win the 600 in 2002 and we won in '04 and '05, I think, it wasn't big wins. It wasn't like tons of wins. It was one here, one sprinkle there. And I just didn't. I was 50 years old, guys. 50. And I was convinced it was getting harder for me to get these results. And it was just such an overwhelming win and such incredible emotion. I went to Victory Lane. Those guys were so excited. We were having so much fun. And all these people that were my heroes came to Victory Lane, took the time to come to Victory Lane. I can't name them all. Mike Hilton, Tony Stewart, Jimmy Johnson, Jeff Gordon, Jeff Burton, Greg Biffle, Jack Roush. It was unbelievable. I don't know that I'll ever, I'm sure I won't. I'll never experience again in this lifetime the overwhelming love and feeling of euphoria. It was just unbelievable. I can't tell you what that meant. Talked to Rick Hendrick on the phone. Don't think he was there. I don't believe Rick was there. I think I talked to him on the phone. I can't remember for sure. But it was incredible. So now we're winners. So the next week we go to Talladega. Fast car again, qualified 7th. I think we're getting a wreck right at the first. I must have been right at the very first of the race because we finished 43rd, dead last. So with the 31st and the 40th and the other 40th that I've had already this year, we ain't even got a sniff of any kind of points standings. But then we go to Richmond and run good, qualify 7th and finish 5th. And then we go to Darlington. And we're just pitiful. Every time I go out on the racetrack, I remember Greg Biffle. It was like I was on used tires and he was on stickers every time, and we weren't. Sometimes we'd go out on stickers and he'd be on used tires. He'd still just drive off and leave me. We were just terrible and just did not run. But when it came time to qualify, we pulled a rabbit out of the hat, got an incredible lap, and qualified 12th. But we were junk. I'm talking about 0.3 to a half a second a lap off of everybody that was good. It was just terrible. And we run that race along, and we spend a lot of time in the middle of the pack. And then Alan, he pulls a rabbit out of the hat with some magic, and he gets me the lead late in the race. Like, I don't know, maybe 50 to go or something. Maybe less, somewhere in there. He gets me the lead by not changing tires or some kind of strategy. I don't remember what it was. I think it was not changing tires because I think the track had been repaved and it was no longer needing new tires all the time like it used to. And so he got me the lead. And dude, when you put me in the lead with a decent car, that fresh air on that baby, I wasn't going to give it up. And Jimmy Johnson made every run he could at me, and he just absolutely couldn't. He couldn't even get near me. He couldn't get within, 10 car lengths of me. He just couldn't do it. man, that thing would sail out there at the end of the race with that fresh air, clean air. So we won that race. And so right after that, I called Rick and I said, Rick, let's meet. I want to talk to you. And because I decided, we're 11 races in, and I've won 3 poles in 2 races. I want some more of this. So rather than do a limited schedule with somebody else's car, which probably would have been Finch's car, since Finch and them had an arrangement, I probably would have had to do Finch's car in 2010 for my 24 races, which probably wouldn't have been bad, but when you run 11 races and get 3 poles and 2 wins, you don't want life to change. You don't want, I want some more of this. So we made a deal. Rick had always told me, he said that, he'd told me, I want you to stay here as long as you'll drive a race car. And he told me that over and over again. We want you here. We want you to, I want you in that 5 car. So we made the deal to go for 2 more years, 2010 and 2011. And so we get on into the year, just a few more races down the road. And Michigan's coming up. But before we go to Michigan, we go to Road Atlanta, and we test at Road Atlanta for Sonoma coming up. And these guys, I had forgot to mention too that Chris Roy was our lead engineer, and Chris was really smart guy too. And Chris went on to be a crew chief at Ganassi's. Chris was a good dude, and he was Alan's right-hand man. And I want to give a lot of credit to Chris because Chris was a smart dude too. Alan he's insane. Insanely. He's on Rodney Childers' level. He does not get the respect that he deserves in the sport and the recognition that he deserves, in my opinion. So we go to the Road Atlanta test. What I'm getting at here is we go to this test, and toward the end of the test, they have the telemetry that will tell me what kind of fuel mileage I'm getting as I'm running, live time. And so I can see it'll figure, the fuel mileage per lap or whatever, and I can see what I'm doing. So we put on a set of tires, and we go out, and he says, run, let's say, I'm just going to use a number, run 2 laps or 5 laps as hard as you can, then run 5 laps saving fuel. And so we went out and ran it. The tires back up a lot, 3 seconds or so. And so, I run hard for a few laps, and then I drop a lap off, and I start saving fuel and seeing what was saving and what wasn't. And then at the end of that, we did that for a bunch of laps so I could practice it. And then it was then see how fast you can go at the end of it. So after, say, 5 laps fast, 5 laps saving fuel, or 7 laps saving fuel, then I tried to go for 2 laps. I tried to pick the pace back up. And all I did was burn more fuel. I couldn't pick up any speed. And it was wild because for the first time I'd learned how to save fuel. And yes, it costs some speed, but it doesn't have to cost you as much speed as you think it does. It was crazy. It was a revelation to me. And so right after that, we go to Michigan. And I've got everybody covered. I don't know. I don't remember why we qualified 32nd. I don't remember why that was. But in the race, I got everybody covered. I mean, I know I've got the car to win. I'm leading the race, and the caution comes out, as it seems like it does at Michigan, with just a little too far to go to be able to make it on without stopping for fuel. So we come out of the pits, probably leading. I take off leading, and Alan's telling me we're short. We're short. We gotta save fuel. And so here come Biffle, and Biffle was short, and my teammate Jimmy Johnson was short too. But here they come, and I start saving fuel because I know that I have a history of running out of fuel and burning more fuel than everybody else. So I start saving fuel and saving it, and I know I've got to pull over and let them go, and I let them go and let them drive on. Watch them drive out there, way out there. Probably 1,000 feet, 800 feet, way out there, and I'm saving my fuel. Just got to make it. We just got to make it to the end. And those two are racing each other. And we come off of turn 4 for the white flag, and Jimmy pulls down to the apron and slows down. He's out of fuel. And I'm still going along there, saving fuel. Down the front straightaway, it seems like it's 10 miles long, and into turn 1, saving fuel. And coming off of 2, I noticed Biffle not up against the wall. He's kind of in the middle of the racetrack. And all of a sudden, I'm catching him like crazy. Then I get scared. Oh, Lord, which side do I pass him on? Which way is he going to go? And down the middle of the back stretch, I blow by him and come back around and win the race on fuel mileage. And it was just an incredible win. Such a feeling of accomplishment, because I'd always sucked so bad on fuel and lost so many races on fuel. I did win a Dover race over Kyle Petty on fuel mileage late in the late 90s, early 2000s. With Jack, we finally started making some fuel mileage over there, and Jack started running them really lean. So it wasn't the first time I'd done it, but it's the first time I'd done it where it was really, I had to have the discipline to let those two guys drive off and race for the win, knowing I was giving the win away and had to give the win away if I wanted to finish the race. So that was a pretty cool deal. And then we turn around and I don't know what happened to Sonoma, 35th. We go to Loudon and run 14th. And then we go to Daytona and 38th at Daytona. Some kind of problem, I don't know what. And then we go to Chicago, guys. And we qualified 14th on Friday. But on Saturday, in race trim, the car was absolutely ungodly fast. It was, you would look at the very best race car out there and look at a 10-lap sticker run or 20-lap sticker run, and every single lap of my sticker run would be 0.3 better than the second best car in the field. And a lot of people knew it. At drivers' intros, people were like, geez, man, you're in a different zip code. And we were. Dude, I mean, we just so fast, it was pitiful. And all this kind of gets back, and so it gets late in the race, and of course, they have a caution, and I have to restart behind some two-tire guys and this, that, and the other, whatever it was. At the end of the day, I had to beat Gordon on a restart. He was behind me, but still, I think he was. For some reason, I'm thinking he was on 4 tires and I was on 2. I don't remember what the deal was, but anyway, it was a big deal. We pulled it off, and I thought we were going to lose that race based on cautions and track position and the pit strategy things and whatnot. But we pulled it off. But all this is to say, it all goes back to 2008 and that test at Charlotte. When I was over on the 8 car the first day, we kept testing Colbine in the right front. And I was the fastest car, or top 3 fastest car, the whole time, but the car would give up and slow down. I just did not like the way I could not keep the right front tire on the car with the right front Colbine setup. I liked left front Colbine setup with some spring in the right front. That would stay on the tires. That would drive good, but the nose would pop up on the straightaways. It didn't stay down. If you did the right front Colbine, the nose would stay down all the way around the racetrack. But I just didn't like that. So we were on, like at Chicago, we were on a 850 right front spring, where a lot of people were on 350s and coil bound. But we were 350 left front or 375 or whatever it was. I just liked a car that was left front coil bound that had some suspension in the right front. That's what I liked. And Alan found that. We discovered that at that test in October before the season, and we refined that throughout the year. And that's the package that Alan gave me. But we go to Snowman, we're in 35th, and 14th in Loudon, 38th at Daytona. That was all before Chicago. And then Chicago, man, holy cow, does that turn things around the way we whipped up on them at Chicago. And then we go to Indy. And I remember this qualifying as well. Going out and scaring the shit out of myself and sitting on the pole. And it was badass. And, dude, we had that race won. I mean, we had them beat. We were leading. But on the final restart, Jimmy got on my outside going into turn 1 and just sucked me around. I mean, it pulled the back end out from under me. I just couldn't hold on to it. So he beat me off of turn 2 and got the lead. And I made a bunch of runs at him. I was faster than he was, but, it's hard as hell to pass. I wasn't enough faster to get the lead back. And it's a damn shame because we really, if that caution hadn't come out at the end of that race, we'd have won the Brickyard too. But a little disappointing, but it was awfully good to be running like that. And we go along there and we go back to Bristol. We sit on the pole at Bristol, and there again, we had that race won. We had everybody covered, and there's a caution right at the end of the race, and we come get 4 tires, and Kyle Busch comes and gets the 4, and I believe it's Newman again. No tires. Restarts right dead in front of me. And that allows Kyle to be on my outside, which, Kyle got ahead of me because I wasn't able to choose what lane I could be in. And Kyle gets ahead of me, and I'm faster than Kyle, but I'm not going to touch him. He never touched me. I wasn't going to touch him. I was raced hard. I kept getting beside him, but I never could clear him. And so we wound up running second to him there. And that's another one that, if the cautions had fell fell differently, or if Newman would have took 4 tires and not restarted in front of me, there's no way I could have lost that race. So this is a year of major success, but it could have. I mean, it could have been even better. And then we get on down. We have a couple of top fives, and we get down to Richmond. And man, we need a good run at Richmond. And we set on the pole, and we finish 4th, which just squeaks us into the. This is when they started the chase and started the reset. I believe it's the first year they did that, and it saved my ass because it put me in the championship hunt to be able to get in that chase and have the reset. And so the next race after Richmond is Loudon. We go to Loudon, and we are junk. I think we are terrible. Just like Darlington, I feel like we're so far off we can't even get a whiff. And Allen pulls some strategy call in the middle of the race, and it works. And somehow or another, it's got to do with pitting under the green. I don't remember what it was. Whatever it was he did got me the lead toward the latter part of the race. And once I had the lead with fresh air on the car, clean air on the car, ain't nobody gonna get it. And we have one hell of a restart at the end of the race. And Juan Pablo Montoya, wanting to get his first oval track win and was hungry. And I think so. I pull ahead of Juan going down the front stretch on the restart, and I go down into turn 1. And the one thing I damn sure I'm not going to do is drive into Juan hard because I know I've got to beat him, slide up the racetrack, and let Juan have the inside. Because I ain't an outside runner. I'm a catfish. I'm a bottom feeder. I run the bottom most all the time. I spent my whole life working on running the bottom, and that's what I was good at. So I checked up pretty good because I made damn sure I didn't slide up, and it caught Juan off guard, and he nearly got in the back of me, but he didn't. And of course, I got on the gas and shot off and ran off and left them and pulled off the win. And I'm telling you this about Juan because a lot of people like to say that I'd have done so much more, had much better career if I'd have been a little more aggressive. Well, I wouldn't have won Loudon if I hadn't been the driver that I was, because I think that Juan would have moved probably most everybody in the field for that win, except me. He respected me because I gave him the respect he deserved. Juan Pablo Montoya is one of the greatest race car drivers in the world, period. I knew that, respected that, and treated him with that kind of respect. Always raced him right on the racetrack, too. But I believe that Juan Montoya is one of the greatest that ever came to our sport. He just didn't have things, all the stars didn't line up. And you have to understand, it's really hard to transition from open wheel cars like Indy cars and Formula One cars to stock cars. And the only guy that really comes to mind that mastered that was Tony Stewart. And you know who else mastered it? Juan Pablo Montoya. And you say, well, he didn't win much. And I say, yeah, he was driving that 42 car. And that's no slap against, Chip Ganassi or anybody at Ganassi Racing. But that car has typically, on average, not been the best race car in the field. I mean, they've had spells where they've done really, really good, but it's hard for them to compete with you know, the people like Hendrick, for example, or some of the other organizations when they're at the top of their game. And Juan did a great job in that car, and he hauled ass in that car, and they did good. And Ganassi did good to give him good race cars. But he wasn't able to reach his full greatness, in my opinion, because of that. So we leave the first race of the chase first place in points after being sucking all year with all these wrecks and blown motors, mostly blown motors and whatnot. Now we're leading the points. And then the very next week we go to Dover and the master beats me. I wish I could say I was the master at Dover because I was so damn good there, but Jimmy Johnson better, and he beat us. So we run second. And then we go to Kansas and sit on a pole again and run seventh. And go to Fontana and run fourth. And then we go to Charlotte, and I don't remember what happened. I do remember not running good as we should, and finish 17th. But then we go to Martinsville and run 8th. We're still looking good in the point standings. And we go to Talladega. And you know what happens at Talladega? What always happens? Freaking wreck. I get turned my ass upside down and wind up with a 28th place finish. And that really takes the wind out of our sail. After that, we go to Texas and run fourth at Phoenix. Ain't bad. Then we go to Homestead, and we're so far behind, it ain't gonna happen. And that's pretty much got to do with Talladega, because we were running good at Talladega. There's a lot of spots we could have been. A lot of points we lost there. Unfortunately, Charlotte as well. We should have run better at Charlotte, and if we could have not wrecked at Talladega, we could have raced Jimmy for the championship. But as it turned out, we raced Jeff Gordon for second in the points and finished second in the points. So it was a great year for me. I went into it not caring about the point standings, and I left it not caring about the point standings. I wanted to win the championship for my guys who wanted it so bad. But for me, I wasn't going to let that faze me one bit. Just didn't bother me. I was proud of what we accomplished. I was proud of my team. And moreover, I was proud to be 50 years old and just, damn near won the damn championship, besides the 7 poles and 5 wins. And let me tell you something about those 5 wins. Just like we should have, could have won a couple of races for sure that the cautions fell wrong on, I could have not won any of those damn races, any of those 5s. I could have run out of gas at Michigan, but I went slow enough and let those guys go enough to make it. I don't know how in the hell we won Darlington. I was afraid we were going to lose Phoenix based on, restarting behind, a car that didn't take tires. And, dude, I have no idea how we won Loudon, because we didn't run good at all. We never ran good there the whole damn weekend, and didn't run good during the race till we got the lead. So I actually just don't know how we pull that off. But that's kind of 2009 in a nutshell. There's a lot more good stuff, but as I tell these stories, or it's just recollection. Usually when I finish a podcast, I remember things that I wish I would have talked about. And I've left a lot of things out through all these podcasts. And some of them, it bothers me that I left things out because I forgot about them and only remember later. But this is kind of the best that I can do. It was, and this is my best shot at telling, and describing 2009.
Now, speaking of 2009, I don't think that race fans realize the enormity of this year. I mean, you came from basically out of nowhere. You're 28th the year before. You're doing a part-time schedule. You had packed it in. You're like, hey, I'm going to run this 1 year. But you had kind of packed it in. You know you're getting ready for retirement, but this came out of nowhere. The stars aligned. You're second place. According to the internet, at very least, it was the top year ever. At 50 years old, most money or most earnings, at least on this spreadsheet here. And this kind of came out of nowhere after all of this started to align, but it was like a revitalization. And I think what fans don't realize is this is kind of that full circle moment when you felt everything finally come together in this year. You're seeking that win, but not only did you get that win, you got 5 in 1 year.
Yes, it was incredible. It's just an incredible experience. And, things were starting to change in the sport. We had seen the economy kind of crash because of that loan prime loans or whatever those things were that caused the housing crash and economy crash and everything. And things were starting to tighten up, and it was getting a little bit easier to get in and out of racetracks and to and from racetracks, and it was easier in 2009 for me than it was in 2005 or 6. 2005 or 6 were a real grind, and I wasn't enjoying myself because I wasn't performing on the racetrack, but it was also a major hassle, and I really wanted time with my family that I had never had. And this enabled me, 2009, and driving for Hendrick, and a lower amount. One of my deals in my contract, because I was in a negotiating position because I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to run full time. So one of the things was it was a limited amount of appearances. So I wasn't doing appearances every day or every week or whatever I was when I was at Roush. So I was doing appearances, and I was doing the things for the sponsors, but not like I had been. And the demand on me was actually a lighter load than it had been for me when I'd raced full time before. Even though I was racing more races, 2007 and 8, I did 24 races. This was more races than that, but it was only a little bit more work. It wasn't a tremendous amount. So I was living it on top of the world at this time.
So after 2009, we're going to do 2 more podcasts on this chronological order. We're going to do 2010 and 11 together, and then 2012 and 13. But Mark, it doesn't end there. We've talked about having guests again and filling in the blanks. Some of those things that you might have missed, fan questions, or having some of those folks that are important to your career, have them on the podcast, fill in the blanks, and then folks can go back and listen to these different years that you've done.
Yeah, I look forward to it. We get these next 2 done, and then we'll start having some fun with them.
So that'll do it for the year 2009 here on the Mark Martin Podcast. Again, make sure to hit that website, markmartinpod.com. Hit subscribe, share with your friends, and spread the good word. But that'll do it, the year 2009 on the Mark Martin Podcast.
Thank you for subscribing and listening to the Mark Martin Podcast. Remember to give us a 5-star rating in your app store. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Mark Martin POD. The Mark Martin Podcast is a production of the Accelerated Podcast Network.